I'm coming. I'm coming. Just give me a minute here to settle in for the evening. Say hi as you walk in. I've just had a really, really nice couple of days, just unwinding from getting myself all wound up over. Well, it was important, right? But I think I wound myself up way more than what I needed to, right? Because yeah, it turned out pretty good. I'm going to be getting into a work program. So tomorrow's a holiday. Tomorrow's Louis Riel Day here in Manitoba. And so it's a government stat. So uh, Tuesday, I'll go down and I'll be looking into this program. But at least now, good evening, Andrew. At least now, I've got a little bit of help, right? I know. I'm so silly sometimes. I know. It's just a weakness, a weak spot, and yeah. But it's all going to be taken care of. Like I said, I just need a little push, and once I like a car, just a little push, and I'll just rev up on my own and get going, right? Yeah. Oh, and William's here now too. Awesome. How's your writing going? He's speaking at his church. When are you doing that, William? He's at the end of the month? Yeah, so he's been working on that. I haven't heard much of him, so I guess he's been busy doing that. But yeah, I didn't do much today. I went in and I got some house cleaners. I've been pulling out my closets and throwing lots of stuff in the garbage and taking little trips to the charity boxes and stuff, right? Just trying to get rid of. I've got a lot. I've collected and accumulated a lot here in well, how long has it been here? I've been here since 97. So for 23 years I've been in this apartment, and I came that close to losing the apartment. And I was actually looking forward to losing it, right? I know I'm in need of a desperate change in my life, right? That's how I like to start things fresh and new. And I've been here for a long time, right? And I love the apartment. I love the neighborhood, but I need a big change in my life, right? And that would be a big change. And I was thinking, if I could get a room in one of those nice old houses or something up in the attic, right? Maybe something with a little deck outside a bedroom. Like, I don't need anything really big, but something that I can go and just stay in, right? Until it's the end. I don't want to be spending all my money on living quarters. If I can minimize that, to the very smallest amount of money that I need to spend on putting a roof over my head, that would put more money in my pocket, right? But yes, I went in and I talked to a gentleman, and yeah, he's setting me up in a program. They might move me into a different program because I do qualify for a couple of programs. So he said I might be moved in, but he said start there, let them know. He went over my resume and everything. He thought probably, because he agreed with me, right? Like, to get as much money as I can, as fast as I can, so I can get back on top, because I had dug myself a really, really, really big hole, right? It's going to take a while to crawl out of it, right? But it's not like the first time that I've had to do that, and I won't be declaring bankruptcy. For those of you who don't know, yes, I have declared bankruptcy in my life too, right? And that's because I value my freedom, right? I value my freedom so much. I don't know what it's about. I always assumed that it was because I valued my freedom, but I just now think it's just residue traits that I got stuck with, right? And I have to deal with, right? So Yeah, but I do. I feel good. I actually went out today and I walked for a couple hours. I had some chores to do, and like I said, I picked up some house cleaners and stuff because I'm doing some cleaners and or some cleaning up and throwing out. And yeah, and I if I'm going into a work program, I had to take some of that purple out of my hair a little bit, right? Kind of blended to society a little bit, right? It's unfortunate, right? But I've got to do what I got to do, right? To keep I'm the number one priority, you know. I've got to love myself more than I love anybody else out there because I'm no good to anybody unless I take care of myself, right? So I'm just going to I'm just going to put a little bit extra love into watching over me as if I was my own kid, right? Because yeah, I am kind of flighty and I do like sparkly things in the world, right? Like yeah, take me on an adventure and I could easily get lost in it, right? Because I'm all about the experiences and in this life I always have been, right? So I just want to stuff as many experiences in my life as I can, but I've got to be smart about it at the same time, right? I got to make sure that yeah, the human in me is taken care of too, right? Like it's unfortunately, my responsibility to take care of me, and I haven't been doing a very good job, but I plan on well, I've put a lot of effort into myself too, right? And a lot of other people have put a lot of effort into getting me back on track. And not back on track, I don't even want to get back on track. I don't even want to go back to that person that I was, right? If I'm going to start off fresh and I'm going to start off new, yeah, I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to and that's the problem, right? Because I take these jobs and I take these jobs because I'm desperate to put a roof over my head. And when you're desperate to put a roof over your head, you don't take the jobs that are good for you, right? You take the jobs that are necessary to keep that roof over your head. And if I'm going into some kind of work program, I'm going to make sure that they find me a job that's going to financially allow me to do what I want to do when it comes to my platforms, or they're going to have to be able to be teaching me skills that will help me out on my platforms, right? I've or and I've got to love it. Number one, like I do have to put a roof over my head, and I do understand not everybody gets to love their jobs, but I'll do what I have to do, right? We all have to. And oh, David's here too. Awesome. Nice to see you. Nice to see you here tonight, David. Yeah, so I was just saying, yes, I'm just gonna love on myself a little bit and take care of myself. I realized that some of my codependency traits, some things that are about me are directly associated with these codependence tendencies. And I thought, I was pretty self-sufficient, right? But the thing with people who are codependents, they tend not to ask for help, right? What they'll do is they'll try and just gather the information, right? So that they can try and just take care of themselves. And I didn't realize really that that's what I was doing, right? I always was kind of thinking, like it was, trying to get people to ask me instead of me asking them, right? And I'm trying to convince myself, like I'm doing this out of respect for my ancestors, and all kinds of stupid things that are going through my mind. And in actuality, it was just totally being afraid of putting myself up there, or putting myself in a position to be judged, or having people discern me, right? Like so yeah, I these things, these experiences that we have are in our lives, right? And then we just carry on with our lives, and we don't realize until like 20 or 30 years later, that some of these personalities we have are just, they're not really our parts of our personalities. They're just little coping mechanisms that we picked up along the way to deal with the stuff we have to deal with in life, right? I could have saved myself a whole lot of grief if I had known, that I was just being stubborn, not asking for the things that I need and asking for the things that I want. And I certainly knew, I got a good dose of reality, this week on that, right? Because I had worked myself up into such a frenzy, right? To go in and talk to these counselors and, get some help and guidance and assistance, and in figuring this all out. I don't take very good care of myself, right? I don't treat myself like I count, and I never have, I don't know how I picked that up. And I know that a lot of people might not see that in me, but yeah, it's something I'm just things I knew about myself, but I didn't realize they were such big problems, right? I didn't realize, I just thought it was something that I could live with, right? But it's just like a chain reaction, right? You have this one system, and then in order to cope with this thing, we do this thing to cope with this thing, and then in order to cope with this thing, we do these two things. And then we're just, next thing you know, we're just all over the place with these little teeny weeny problems, right? And then the problems themselves are tiny, but yeah, so I try to peck them off, and I try and peck them off from the top, right? And then, yeah, take care of those big ones. And I have taken care of a lot of them. And like I said, I'm not going to beat myself up today. Today, I'm quite pleased. I'm quite pleased that I went off and I did that in the end. I took a little bit of a desperate situation and a little bit of coaxing, right? That it wasn't, it wasn't going to be so bad, right? Like I was going to get some help in the end, no matter what, right? And if I have to let my pride down a little bit, then I have to let my pride, because my pride wasn't doing me any good. It wasn't doing me any good, right? And they turned out they were so kind. Yeah, they did everything to make it work for me. So hopefully it does. I just made a fresh cup of coffee, so it's gonna be nice and hot. I just love opening up a fresh package of coffee, right? I ran out of coffee, but I ran to the store and I got a little container. It was on sale. It was cheap, but I tried to pick the best brand as I could, right? I like my McDonald's coffee. And when I buy coffee at home, I always buy the McDonald's coffee. And yeah, it's really, really good coffee. But I've been doing 7-Eleven coffee lately, and their coffee has been really, really good. I mean, you got to fix it up yourself, but you can't lose for $1, that's for sure. And it's like 59 cents for a refill or something. It was cheap, right? So, and fresh coffee too. So I've been enjoying the 7-Eleven coffee too. It's just like everybody competing with everybody, right? I wish I had that competition in me. And I do in some aspects, but yeah. You're right, Andrew. I believe you with that. Thank you, David. Yes. And I've been doing a lot of that. I thought I dealt with most of that, over the course. Like I'm a big thinker. I've been a big thinker all my life, right? And it's basically because I've spent a lot. Hi, Nancy. Nancy just walking in. So excited. Let you guys do your lows. I'll just yabber off in the meantime. I've been, I've been a big thinker all my life just because I have spent so much time on my own, right? And I just love being outdoors and being little adventures and stuff on my own. So it made sense that I spent a lot of time inside my head, right? And I think, when I went through these experiences, that hurt me or made me sad or made me worried, right? And I would go right into my head over these things, and I would try to figure them out. Mostly I was trying to figure people out, why people thought certain things or why people did certain things. Those were the kind of things that interested me, right? So when something happened or somebody said something, I was always jumping right inside my brain, and I would stay in there and inside my brain until I could figure out why. I would even make up things, right? If I couldn't figure out why somebody did something, I would just pick the I would just pick the least negative one as I could, and I would just say, oh well, that's the reason, right? Because I always needed to know the why of everything. I don't know why, but again, it's just personality traits, right? Hmm. Yeah, it's important to talk it out. Even I've been trying to get into the practice of talking out loud. Like I have this apartment, I'm home by myself. It's not like anybody's going to think I'm a kook or anything, right? I do my affirmations loud every morning, right? So if I can do that, there shouldn't be any reason why I couldn't speak out loud my thoughts and stuff, right? Just right now, I'm just trying to. Boost my self-esteem up a little bit, right? A little bit of my confidence work. I've been watching some different different creators, I watch for different reasons, right? And I'll usually go into little spurts on different creators, like I'll go a week with well, I do Evan Carmichael there every day, right? But like this week I've been doing Marissa Peer. I don't know if anybody watches her. She does a lot of childhood. She does a lot of hypnotherapy work, right? A lot of she takes care of like the queen and stuff, emotional well-being, she's an English lady, right? So I've been watching a lot of her content this week, and yeah, I've been watching the past few weeks. I've been watching a lot of Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson's been having a rough time, right? He's been having reactions off of some of the medication, so he's been fighting desperately for that. But he's one of the great thinkers, right, of the world, and he's a professor at the University of Toronto, right, and I've been listening to him. He's super smart, right? He makes everything just sound like perfect sense. Like he's more of a realistic look at life, right, and emotions and how the brain works and everything. Yeah, more realistic version. Like there's still the spirituality a little bit, but yeah, he has analytical understandings of the way he thinks too, right? you know and yeah, and I picked up a couple of new ones, right? I've just been watching a little bit of different religions, and I've been looking at some religions from history, how the churches broke away from each other, like the Eastern and the Western, with when the Catholic Church, came into effect. So I've been, yeah, just trying to feel them all out, right? Like I know, like I said, I don't know if I feel I'm just interested in them, right? I guess because they're tied up with history too, right? So when you pop in, yeah, just say hi, pop in and say hi. I'm glad to see Nancy's doing. How's Nancy doing this week? Better, I hope, right? Are you feeling better? Just taking a look here. Oh, just in and out of Nancy. Ah. Oh, Andrew, yeah, I actually am looking towards that way, but it's just that I have such an interest in the spirituality part of it, right? And because I haven't caught on to the meditation, right? I'm a little bit worried about not being able to catch on to that. Like I'm just I have my quiet moments when I'm walking out at nighttime. I feel like I'm meditating, right? Because there's nothing in my brain except for the crisp air that I'm breathing in and looking at the snow and the trees. Like I really don't have anything in my mind. I guess there are times when I just do go into thought, but on the norm, I'm just enjoying the experience, right? Even sometimes I even walk by my own apartment, like I'm so involved in my walks, right? But I am heading in that direction. I know I am. My interests have got to come to what do you call it? To some use. You can't have this kind of information and not try to use it to help other people, right? I was privileged to stumble. I could have it one experience in my life changing, and I might not have stumbled onto it, right? Like it's just funny how life works out. You're obviously be steered in a direction. We have choices in life, and that's how come things don't always work out for you. But I've come to learn, right? Like if you're content, then you're doing okay. But if you're not feeling good, then you're definitely in the wrong place, right? And you have to make some kind of changes in your life to see if you can better that, right? So I've come to know that, and I've been working with that. Oh, it was so funny. And I was working with that the other day. I left 2 hours. I said 2 hours is absolutely good enough from the few things that I got to do, because like before I had my appointment with the office, right? I had to go to the bank, and then I had to go down to another government building, right? Because I had to cancel because I was getting another form. The government was giving me a little bit of money every month to help me with my rent, but you can't be on one government program and then go on to another one. And because this other government program was better for me, right? I had to cancel this one. So I had to go there and cancel it. So I got up in the morning and I looked out the window, and I never seen so much wind. I thought the trees were going to take out my window, right? And the snow was blowing, and it was like 40 below zero. And this is going to be hell day, right? But I'm trying to be optimistic. But in my head, like I know it's going to be hell day. I could just feel it already, right? But I'm trying to be optimistic, and I go to make my coffee, right? And I didn't take the old coffee filter out of my coffee basket, and there was coffee all over the place. And then I bundled up, and I left my gloves, and then I walked out the door, and I slipped on the ice. And then I was fighting the wind to get to the bus stop. And then I couldn't find my change to get a cup of coffee at 7-Eleven. So I went to the bus stop. And I sat at the bench. There was a bench sitting there. So I sat on the bench, and then I saw the bus coming. I stood up to catch my bus, and the bus drove right by me. And then I looked. I wasn't even at a bus stop. It was just a bench on the sidewalk. And I was just like, oh. And then I thought, do I wait for the bus, or do I just start walking? And I decided I would just walk to the next bus stop. And then I got on the bus stop, and then I lost my glove, and then I went into the bank, and then I got the wrong forms. Then I went down. It's just like, and then I'm standing in line at this first government office, and I knew I was going to be late, right? If I didn't leave right then, I was going to be late, but I had the next ticket in line. I was next up. And I just had to give it back to him. I just said, I'm sorry, I can't wait. And I'll come back after my appointment. And I went to the bus stop, but there was no buses going to where I needed to go. So I had to run, like literally run. I was all hyperventilating to another bus stop, and I stayed standing there, and I'm waiting for the bus stop, and I'm looking at my watch, and I was just going in panic mode. And then I got off the bus where I was supposed to, but then I must have made a wrong turn, and I kept running around different blocks, trying to find this building. I must have ran right past it, right? Because I was literally running, thinking I was late for my appointment. And then, I got lost for a good 15 minutes, I'm sure. And then when I walked in there, I just walked in, I gave them my name, and they said, go stand in this line. And as soon as I stood in that line, somebody came to the window and they said, last call for appointments for 1:00. And I went, oh my gosh, that's me. And then it just went smooth, and I got a nice counselor and gave me some good ideas, and he was really kind to me. And I'm going to get into a work program. So hopefully digital marketing or a nice restaurant or bar or something where I can make some good tip money so that I can, because I'm not stopping what I'm doing. Like, I need to get back on the road, and I need to do my outdoor explorers, right? I'm sure that not being able to, the walks are nice in the evening, right? But they're not the same as me being able to walk into the forest, right? So I'm looking forward to that. And I know once I get back on my feet and everything, my sister will give me back the car and stuff. But I have to prove to her first, just give me the job, right? Like, and then I won't leave. I'll kill myself. I'll just grind myself right to the ground, right? And, I won't let go of the job no matter what. If it serves my purpose, then I'll keep that job, and I'll be grateful for it, right? And at the same time work for something better, right? Something better. But nice to see Nancy in here tonight. Let's see what's going on in the comments. But Andrew, I am looking into that coaching. And if you guys ever want to do any life coaching with me, I'm on Instagram all the time. Just email me, right? Because, my aspirational mentors, they want me to be, showing my stuff online. And this is my stuff, right? Like, I know I know I can help a lot of people this way, right? It's always the start, Andrew. It's always the start that's the hardest. But you can only move forward. Like, if you understand that, if you understand that you can only move forward with change, right? So just try and make little changes, right? Changes in your routines, even empty out your closets, organize your papers, like flip your cupboards around, make changes in your route to work, changes at work, change your work altogether, change where you live altogether. Like, these are all things that I need to do, right? I've been too comfortable for way too long. Yeah, I'm feeling so much better. Like, I just, I just want to grab my camera and start filming and stuff. And I want to get back to doing some explores, and I love this part, right? But this is a part of it, right? This is just a part of it. So I really, really want to show all the good that I've done, right? I've hit rock bottom, and I only let it go for maybe a half an hour. As soon as I walked out of that building, I was already scraping myself off the ground. Like, I was already scraping myself off the ground. So I know that yeah, it won't take me no time at all. Yeah. A little worried about the credit cards. But you know, something will come along and I'll get on top of that too, right? Yeah. It's just about being determined. Oh, Andrew. Yeah. It's hard if you have to push yourself from hour to hour. Like I have never, I've been so lucky. I do procrastinate. I do procrastinate, but to push myself to go forward, or do a little bit better, or to make the necessary changes and stuff, I have yeah, I've always persevered that way. I know that good only comes from doing that little bit of push, right? And sometimes, when you have life a little bit hard, then pushing yourself a little bit doesn't seem so bad, right? It's all about the intent. I'm pushing myself with love, right? Like, I'm if I try to be strict with myself, like I'm I'm coming to the conclusion I have a loaf of bread in the house, right? So I decided yesterday that when this loaf of bread is done with, that I'm not going to allow bread in my life. Like I cut out candy, I have to cut out bread too. I've come to the conclusion that I can't control my junk, like it's junk, right? And not necessarily, like, some of it's good for you. Like, I don't know if you guys got that Astro yogurt in the States. Do you guys have Astro yogurt? The Balkan yogurt? Oh my gosh. I am so hooked on the coconut and the lime one too. The lime one's really good, but the Balkan yogurt, it's so thick. I can't even describe what it is. When it's so cold, it's almost like ice cream, almost, that it's just absolutely delicious, right? So I've been hooked on yogurt, and I know this Balkan yogurt is high in calories, but it is very nutritional for you, right? I do like yogurt. It did go well. That was your speech that you did, William? That you're saying that went so well? I didn't know if it was this week. Oh, I didn't see Owen sneak in. Yeah, I would just do it, right? You know, I've gotten used to, when you get the idea to do something, you got to do it right away. Otherwise, your brain is just going to talk yourself out of it and you won't end up doing that. Oh, I'm notorious. I'm notorious for putting things off. If I don't write it down and if I don't tell myself you have to do this tomorrow, like I will give myself excuses and I'll let myself off the hook when things don't get done, because it's easy to let yourself off the hook, because you have this other side of your head that goes, oh, you got to take care of yourself, Cindy. Don't be so hard on yourself, right? But sometimes you got to be hard on yourself, because otherwise, if you don't have anybody to answer to, right, it would be better if you had somebody sitting beside you to push you a little bit. But when you don't, then you have to do it yourself, right? But yeah, you get that idea, do it right away. What are they going to do? They're going to say no. And Andrew, if they're not happy with your work, right, they're going to have to train somebody to do it all over again. And you're probably very meticulous at what you do, so they're probably not going to find somebody as good as you. If they just gave you a little bit of a raise to keep you happy, which would only be fair to start with, and they're probably not even doing it just for the fact that you're not asking for it, right? Because I know I didn't ask for raises, and I would have gotten those raises too if I had, asked for them, right? You know, but yeah, idea to action. I hear that every day, and it's so true. I like cherry too. Cherry yogurt. I like cherry yogurt too. But yeah, this coconut yogurt, I didn't think I would like coconut yogurt, but holy moly, it was good. And the lime yogurt, oh, yum, yum. But it's Balkan, like any yogurt that you can find that is Balkan yogurt, right? Balkan. Oh, so good. Try it. Try it. Because other yogurt is really runny, right? Like it's really runny and everything, but Balkan yogurt is, ooh, yeah, it's a different experience, and I won't buy any other kind of yogurt now. I just like that Astro yogurt. It's really good yogurt. And they have a whole bunch of different flavors. But I'll try their yogurt one. It's just I've been doing the lime and the coconut, right? And sometimes they go on sale, right? Because they want people to try that yogurt, because I know when I see that it's getting more and more popular all the time, right? Every time I go into the aisle to get my yogurt, I notice that more of that brand is being pulled out of the yogurt lines, right? So it's a good one. Perilous through analysts. Yeah, also called fright and flight. Fright, freeze, fright, flight, and freeze. Flight, fright, freeze. Yeah. Same kind of idea though, right? Yeah, it's just ways that because your brain is trained, right? Just to stop you from doing, things that are unsafe, and so you have to kind of push through those things when your brain says, and those from when we're little kids, right? When we were trying to protect ourselves and stuff, that yeah, they're all triggers. But yes, Andrew, if you ask for that raise, I don't know if it would be fair of us to challenge you this week. I'm not a big believer of pushing anybody who's not ready to do anything, right? You have to make that decision for yourself, because that way, that's where your self-worth comes from, right? That's where you can pat yourself on your back and you can say, oh, good job, Andrew. See, that wasn't so hard, right? And you got your raise, and how good will you feel if they do give, even a token, like a token raise, just to show that you are appreciated, right? That you are of value. So it would be good for your self-esteem. And what are they going to do in the end, right? If they let you go, you've been there long enough, you'll just get your pokey, right? What are you going to say? They let you go because you asked for a raise? No. Then you do it around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? When they're just tidying up all their work and they're unwinding a little bit and getting ready to go home, and they want to end their day on a good note, on a positive note, right? So that's when you go in and you ask for your raise. I mean, it would all depend, right? On the position, but I think working at the university and stuff, I think sometime after 2 o'clock, right, would be maybe even closer to 3 o'clock. But by that time, they might be getting tired and cranky. So I would try and give them an hour to digest their food after lunch. And then, yeah, then they're starting to unwind. But, oh, we're so lucky to have such great prayers here, right? Yeah. Yeah, all taking care of each other with the prayers. I really like that. Who was I telling about that the other day? I think it was one of my sisters. I was saying like how awesome and what incredible subscribers, how good I always feel when I'm finished with my lives on Sunday night, right? I always feel so good. Yeah, last week went so fast. I couldn't believe it. How fast last week went. Mm. It's too easy to say no in an email, Andrew. It's too easy. If there was any way that you could do it in person, right? you know, and then just go in. And that way, you just go in, oh, I'm so happy, we don't get to talk so often. I'm so glad that you gave me these couple of minutes, and if there's anything that you think that I can do to improve on my job, like, I would be happy, for that input. But the real reason I'm here is, I was just really thinking about, my contributions here and how helpful it would be if I could, you know, get a raise, just to, bump my income up a little bit, to help take care of my household, right? Yeah. And they'll understand too, right? Yeah, you probably bring a lot to your job, and you probably know these people better than I do too, right? But you have to feel them out, right? You feel them out, and catch them at a good moment when you notice them smiling at somebody, right? You don't want to catch them after they had to do, something that they weren't happy to do, or they just got cranked at by somebody, right? It's all about perfect timing for most things. But yeah, always offer, before you take, you offer, right? Just like, oh, we haven't had a chance to talk, right? And, if you have some input on anything that I might be able to do my job, better, I'm definitely open for that. But the real reason I'm here today is, and then just go into, I was really kind of hoping that I can increase my income just a little bit to help me with my household. And I thought it might be a good time to come in, seeing I haven't asked for a raise since, or I have never asked for a raise, right? Yeah. And then just go in and, I'm a fun one to talk, because I do the scary things, I find I have to jump into them, right? When the thought comes into me, because otherwise they get into my head and they don't go away. And then you just pick at them every once in a while until you finally just, freaked yourself out so bad, right? You've turned something that was a lot smaller into something so huge that you can't even do anymore, right? And then you end up freezing and then just, forget it. And then you beat yourself up and you feel bad about yourself, right? Because you weren't brave enough to do it, right? Because you yourself know, right? They don't know, we don't know, but right? Yeah. Oh, you haven't done that yet, William. 20 minutes. So you haven't decided what the topic is going to be, William? Yeah, to get up and chit chat. I never really had a oh, good advice, David. Good advice. And that's what I do too, right? I try to anyway. Like, there's always messages and everything that when you're carrying on a conversation, little messages will pop into your head, but you always have to speak. You always have to speak from the heart, right? But yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. And what was Owen up to today? Did Owen say what he was up to today? Oh, yay. Yeah, Nancy just laying and relaxing, reading the comments and listening, right? I've got to send off a few emails too to a few of my subscribers. Haven't gotten back to them yet, and that's a good thing. I just remembered that now. Oh, and I have my post, my Instagram post that I have to do tonight too. Yeah, so the day is not over, but I don't mind. I'm just so happy to have some of that stress off, right? They gave me a few dollars. I put it on my phone bill and my on my internet bill, right? So I can keep my internet and yeah, I didn't buy too much in the way of groceries, but I did spend a lot of money at the dollar store, like almost like $40 just like on cleaners and garbage bags and things that I've been, kind of putting off, right? Because there were more important things to do, but yeah, I was happy for that. Yeah, to get a little bit of that pressure off of me, right? And at least now I don't have to worry. The rent will be taken care of, and I can just concentrate on getting into a good program and finding a good job, right? Something that will last. And I also found out, like at 59, we have to apply for our Canada pension plans. Like it's the law. I didn't know that, right? So I'll be collecting some little pension next year. I don't think it's the big pension. I don't think you can collect that one still until you're 67, but the other one you collect at 59. So I'm pretty excited about that because that'll be an extra four or $500, I would assume every month, right? So that'll help out lots. Maybe I could put that away and that could be my gas and my explore money, like my plane money every month. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing if that, because I could do awesome. I could do awesome with $400 a month. For sure I could. Yeah, I could go quite a distance too, right? Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing lots of camping this summer, lots of it. Yeah, it's a good thing I actually went into this program because if I hadn't gone into this program, I was going to go and be a camp cook. I had already kind of decided because I was putting off getting a cat, right? And the only reason I was putting off the cat was because I thought I was going to have to move, right? But if I'm not going to move, if I'm going to stay here, then maybe I'll get a cat. But maybe I'll still move. I don't know. Not making any plans. I'm just playing it by ear, right? Just playing it by ear. Right now, I'm just grateful to have a roof over my head and not to be worrying about bills today, right? And yeah, me and my sisters are talking good, and yeah, life is good today, and we're just gonna keep it that way for a while, and just kind of improve and work on it too a little bit, right? Yeah. Yeah, that was a doozy. That was a doozy year. And I think I flew through that year pretty good, right? Compared to the year previous, like the year previous, I think last year was a lot worse than this year, right? I might have done a lot more crying this year, but emotionally I felt better because I guess because I understood what was happening and what was going on with my life a lot more this year. So it's not knowing, right? I don't like not knowing. I like to know what everything is going on, right? I'm not judgy, but I'm definitely curious, right? Like I definitely curious. So spiritual combat. What is that, David? Spiritual combat. Ooh, that really sounds like scary stuff. Like spiritual combat on you, like fighting depression or fighting like demons. I don't understand. It sounds interesting though. I'm gonna write that down and I'm going to Google it and find out what that is. Yeah. Because I do a lot of the spiritual work now too. Well, I'm trying to do more, right? But because I'm just kind of feeling all different things out, like there are some things like I, I'm I'm yeah, I'm drawn to a few things, and I'm really curious about this channeling stuff that I've kind of noticed that I've been doing every once in a while, right? And I don't know where that's coming from or anything, right? And I didn't realize I was doing that, and I haven't gone over some old videos, so I don't know even how long I've been doing it. And channeling is something I've just come to understand a little bit. I think I was just introduced maybe earlier. Oh, it was no later than springtime last year, right? It's been no more than a year. Like all of this, everything. This is all new to me, right? I was totally clueless up to a year ago, right? Totally clueless, but so fast, right? You know, and a lot of it I don't talk about it because a lot of it I'm indecisive about. A lot of it I'm still in the midst of figuring out for myself, and a lot of it I'm trying to uh, absorb it, right? Absorb it. And a lot of it I resonate with, right? So at that time, I have to go and study that aspects too, right? But I also understand that there could be all types of religions in my past history, right? I know there's Catholics, and I know there's Protestants, and I know there might be a little bit of mysticism there, right? Because I remember my nanny was into that, right? You know, people used to come and see my nanny. We called her nanny. She was like my grandmother, right? But she didn't like to be referred to as old, so she always wanted to be called nanny, right? But yeah, youthful heart, right? Like she had a youthful heart, right to the very end. But in my family, everybody passed away. Like you were lucky. You were very lucky to make it to 50. Like very, very lucky. My dad lived to be 47, but he wasn't expected to live until until his 30s. They expected him to pass away, but yeah, he lasted into his almost 50 years old, like 47 years old. But that's the way it was in my family all the way back, right? And I think I would have gone that right route too. But in 1987, I had a gastric bypass. I had a stomach stapling, right? That stopped me from, getting diabetes or the heart disease and everything, right? I could have gone easily down that route. I was just very lucky that I was pretty good at taking my vitamins and started exercising and taking a little bit better care of myself. But emotionally, I wasn't ready to be slim, right? Emotionally, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for that. But it didn't matter whether I was ready for it or not, because I would have never gotten to have that amazing experience with my husband, right? Because I wouldn't have had the confidence to even, accept to go out with him or anything if I hadn't lost all that weight, right? So even though I would probably have to do that operation again, I would still, even knowing that I wasn't ready, I would have to have that experience of those years with my husband, right? We were together for 8 years, and it was an amazing marriage from the day we met, right till, swear to God, to the day we ended it, right? Yeah, so but it's the way life goes. And it happened on my birthday too. There was actually on Valentine's Day, because that's when I had to do all this government building stuff, right? With the government services, and I was nervous about it. That's why, again, I knew it was going to be a bad day, because it was a holiday, right? And I never do well on the holidays. Every terrible, terrible thing that ever happened to me, those punch in the gut days, they've always been on a holiday with me. They always have. I guess because they always wanted me to remember those terrible days, not to forget it. Not like I could forget them, but I guess if they land on a holiday, then on the holiday, when you think of the holiday, that event pops into your head, right? But yeah, I've always been a holiday girl. Yeah. Yeah, and I could generate that stuff myself too, just because I think that bad things are going to happen on the holidays. And because I think those things are going to happen on the holidays, then they do happen, right? But I didn't, yeah. Maybe I don't think that's true though, because I didn't understand what was going on, right? I didn't understand at that time. I didn't associate the bad things happening to me on the holidays. It's just that looking back now, I noticed all those things were on actual holidays, right? Just going to take a look at some comments here. Ah, okay, I get it, William. Oh, I see. So it's not just like pick a topic and talk about it. You have to actually take passages from the Bible and stuff and interpret it through the story of the Bible. I guess that's what he's saying there. Yeah. I was always that person who would whip the mic out of your hand, right? And take over I nobody ever wanted me to do speeches and stuff at the wedding, right? They would try and get me off the stage as fast as they could. But I was always happy to take the mic in hand. It's funny though, I was never one to do like karaoke. Yeah, I guess I did a little bit of karaoke in my day too, but not a lot. I never ever thought I was a good singer, right? My sister thinks she's amazing singer, my sister Tracy, right? And oh, she can't sing worth anything, but she just loves singing so much, right? And she likes um what's the lady with the red hair, the country singer with the red hair, Rebecca something? Oh, I can't remember her name. Reba McEntire there. Yeah, my sister liked Reba McEntire, right? Yeah. I go through stages with country music. Sometimes I like country music. I'll do country music for like 6 months, but on the norm, I don't do a lot of music. I do there are a couple of drum beats and stuff that I do like, but the nature sounds I do like, listening to the rain, and I do like listening to the wind and nature sounds, right? But on the norm, when I'm working and stuff, like, yeah, I'm not really listening to anything, right? Like, I'll listen to whatever's around me, but I'm in here, and when I'm in here, I'm not paying attention to what's going on, around me, right? And I guess that's probably why I live by myself, because then I don't have to be like checking out what's going on, making sure it's all safe and stuff to do my thing, right? I can just go ahead and feel safe and do my thing. Yeah, lots of people like me, we like to live on our own for those very reasons, right? Don't throw rocks, they hurt. That's a good one. That's a good message. Yeah, I'm actually really quite pleased with William. Have you done that before, William? Have you done one of those before, or is this the first time doing it? Oh, I actually have not had pop in almost a year, almost a year, maybe 10 months or so, but yeah, I'm having my first pop today. It's taken me a while to drink it, but I am enjoying it. And I didn't stop drinking pop for any particular reason. It was just that I wasn't craving pop, right? So I just wasn't drinking it, but I am enjoying this one today, and I guess I have to finish it tonight, otherwise it's gonna go flat tomorrow, right? Have you had roommates before, Andrew? Yeah, I don't know how well I would do with roommates. Like I would get along just for the fact that I need to get along. And I mean, you always have your own room, I'm sure, so that you could always go to your room if you didn't get along. But uh, I know when I was younger, I had lots of roommates all the time, and it was only about fun, right? So it was like whoever we were going to have the most fun with. But there were a few people that I could get along with, and they picked up with themselves and cleaned up after themselves, and tolerate. Yeah, you got to be able to tolerate each other's idiosyncrasies, right? Because I have little traits and stuff that I do, right? If I don't wash this cup right away and I put it on the kitchen counter, right? And you actually have a roommate that just absolutely hates having anything on their kitchen table. Wash this cup right away and I put it on the kitchen counter, right? And you actually have a roommate that just absolutely hates having anything on their kitchen table. It's just a coffee cup. You'll get to it when you're at the kitchen sink next, right? And it's not a big deal to you. So, but you have to think of other people, right? When you take on, but the benefits, right? To have more money in your pocket to do more things for yourself, so you can enjoy your life for yourself a little bit more, right? That's it's you got to think of these things if you're going to benefit from it, right? Oh, I can't even think. I know that, Nancy. I know that. But yeah, I don't know how many times I've fallen just this winter. I live in Manitoba. I mean, it's lots of snow and ice all over the place, right? So it's easy to slip, and I've fallen a few times. But last year I hurt quite a bit. I was taking that skip the dishes job. Oh, and my poor car, and I would sit in parking lots for hours. And I've got tons of podcasts on video, right? Like I would just turn on my camcorder and I would just leave it sit there, and I would just go into these bawling sessions and cry and complain and play the victim, right? Yeah, I'm so glad that I've come out of that, right? Huh. Well, I hope I've come out of that. I'm sure every once in a while I'm going to slip back, right? It's just like I said, I've got to eliminate bread from my house. I cannot have peanut butter in my household because I can't control myself with peanut butter. I ate a whole jar of peanut butter in less than a week, right? Like one of the bigger ones too in less than a week. And there's a lot of calories in peanut butter. And even though it's good protein, right? Peanut butter causes inflammation in the body. I don't know if you guys know that, but if you're peanut butter fans, it does cause inflammation in your body. So yeah, you got to eat lots of vitamin C if you're going to do lots of peanut butter. Yeah. Talk about vitamin C, right? Yeah, because bacteria will accumulate in your gut and in your intestines and stuff, right? And you can always tell when you need vitamin C because you'll get lots of indigestion, and your intestines will twist up every once in a while, and usually that's all caused by bacteria, right? And especially if you eat a lot of cream in your coffee and stuff like that, right? Yeah. So, and vitamin C, if you buy the fruity ones, they keep your breath fresh too. Yeah. But it's good. I keep my vitamins here all the time. What do I got going on right now? I think I'm doing the same as the last what we talked about. Yeah, my dailies, my calcium, magnesium, and my D3s. Yeah. And then my vitamin C's, I usually will pop a couple of those during the course of the day. But I often forget too, right? I leave them on my desk and I so that I remember every day, but I don't always remember every day. But at least they're on my desk, and when I do think of them, I take them, right? And if I've gone more than a couple of days, then I can double up, I guess, on some of these vitamins. Like, yeah, it's important to keep myself healthy. Like, I don't want to be sore. I don't want to have I want to feel like how I feel right now. If I could do this, until if I could do this always, that would be absolutely terrific. But I don't expect, I have to be reasonable that at some point the aches and pains will come, right? So, but the longer I can put them off, the better, right? The longer I can put the aches and pains off, the better. I'm just so thankful that I never had to deal with anything chronic in my whole life, healthy wise, right? Health wise, I've never had to deal with any kind of chronic pain. I'm just very, very, very grateful. you know my pain was emotional pain. um but again, some people, we all have disabilities, right? Everybody has disabilities, and some people's disabilities are more noticeable than other people's disabilities, right? Some people, sometimes I envy people whose disabilities are more visible than mine, right? Because they can be offered help. If you don't look like you need help, then you're the person that's responsible to go off and find that help, right? I was very lucky that I stumbled on to some good advice along the way, right? But yeah, if your disabilities are not, outwardly visible, right? You know, I have bumped into people like me whose anxiety has made it so bad for them that they can't even function, right? I've met some very strong empaths, and their lives are so hard, right? Because they can't function socially on any level at all, and it takes a great amount of strength and a great amount of courage, and nobody recognizes it, because if they make a move that they can pat themselves on the back for, nobody else is going to recognize it, because it's something that comes naturally to somebody else, right? But when you have a problem and you've overcome it, it's very important that you recognize it, right? You recognize it. But yeah, so I'm not one. If I have issues, I have no problem. Like I say, I have no problem letting people know that I had complex trauma, and I never had it treated. Though I did have, a family doctor suggest that I was PTSD, and I did have a social worker, not a social worker, uh, um, a worker suggest to me too that I was traumatic, right? But yeah, it was codependency for sure. It was my complex trauma that caused me all those issues, right? Like I said, the next couple of generations, right? It's more common for this to happen now in North America, right? That And it's generational too. It affects your DNA. Like, things that happen to me, right? If I had babies, like, these things would carry on in their genes. And even though they don't have it in their life, they might grow up with loving lives, right? Like, with lots of support and stuff, but they would end up having these little issues and not knowing where they came from, not realizing it came from grandma, right? You know? And the scientists have proven that already, that these problems that we have, that we think that emotionally that we're not right, or physically we're not right, that we're being punished for something, but it's got nothing to do with what we did. I mean, it could, right? But more than likely it's something that happened, a couple of generations back, right? And it just something that clinged, and it's usually the trauma, the super happy things or the super scary, sad things, right? That stick, right? Because it's got to do with the emotions that change the DNA. Yeah. Yeah, I've been very lucky that I've anxiety. I don't think I've ever suffered really from anxiety. I have suffered from moments of fear. Like if you force me to do something that I don't want to do, I will freeze. I just won't do it. Right. Like but I'll let you know right away so that we can get a solution, and work around it. But yeah, I've got to do it on my own accord. You can't, yeah, you can't force me. It can't be forced. I gotta want to do it, right? Yeah. So if you want me to do something, you got to make me think that it's really important to you that I do it, right? Because I'll do it that way. Like I'll do it for you, right? But I won't do it because you forced it. You forced it on me. Mm, yeah, that people don't realize, how bad teachers like nowadays, the teachers, they grow up and they want to be teachers. They want to make a difference in people's lives, right? But the kids and the students, they don't realize that and they don't appreciate it, right? And then the teachers get soured from the experience. But but yeah, I remember I was the last person in my school to get the ruler. In my day it was the ruler, right? And I remember the principal dragging me into the cafeteria at lunchtime, and I was the very last person to get the ruler. And I don't know what I did. I never ever did anything ever bad, but I always seemed to get in trouble for something, right? And it might have been the day that I all those nurses had to hold me down. I had to go get needles, vaccinations or something, and all the principals and the teachers and all the office people, everybody had to come in and hold me down in order to give me my shots. And they were so angry with me that they got really rough with me, right? Because they were quite upset. I wasn't very agreeable when they were trying to give me my vaccinations. And yeah, I remember at lunchtime the principal took me down to the cafeteria and decided to make an example of me, right? And yeah, gave me the ruler in front of everybody. And the ruler hurt. Like the ruler hurt, but doing it in front of the whole school. I'm not even sure if that bothered me at all, having everybody seen it, right? Because I just stood there because I was able. Even then, I was able to blank out, right? Like it was like I wasn't even there. Here's my hand, and I would just disappear until it was all over, right? But I would think that I probably would have thought I was pretty tough, and I would have thought that everybody else thought I was pretty tough for not complaining and not crying and not making a fuss and just standing there and taking it, because I'm sure that's probably what I did. Because yeah, I was quite at that point I was quite used to just kind of shutting down, right, when that stuff was happening. Yeah, I can't donate blood because of my malnutrition, right? Or malabsorption. I have to really, really dose myself up with lots of vitamins and stuff, and then I go in, get a preliminary to say that everything is like there's lots of blood and it's nice and healthy. Then I can go in, right? But I think there is a note on the computer saying that I'm not eligible to give blood, because I do remember years back trying to give blood, and they wouldn't let me give me blood because I was probably anemic, right? Yeah. Yeah, again, like, my depression was external. It was always came from external. It was never internal until I would beat myself up over it, or until I get to the point where I'm trying to figure out the why of it again, right? Why it happened, right? But yeah, I still wonder, because like I said, I do meet lots of people like me, right? That, and well, I don't know if they're like me, but they have some of the same traits that I do, right? And they have they're very strong, right? They're very, and they get sick, right? Like, I know, oh, I remember this one time, it was a couple of years ago, and I met this guy, and we just went for a drive once, and oh, he was such a nice guy, and we had a good time. But I could tell right away, because you get reactions when you hit a nerve emotionally, right? So you get that little bit of, like, I can tell anyway. But his anxiety was so bad that he had to take 3 weeks off of work after that one experience of just going out and having a drive and having a nice conversation with me, right? Just being around me, it made him that sick for 3 weeks, right? Yeah. But that was I think that might have been the first time. Well, no, it wasn't. I think, yeah, a friend of mine was my first rub that way, right? Yeah, but it's just a matter, and I can count in my whole life maybe that many people that were like me, that I touched base on in my whole life, on my one hand, right? Of all the people that I bumped into in my entire life, that maybe 5 people like me, not very many, right? you know so I do appreciate, and at least, I can have a conversation and at least talk to somebody that understands where I'm coming from, right? But yeah, if you ever have, it's a neat experience. It's a really neat experience. Yeah. Yeah, from your childhood, I would assume, Owen, or do you think it could be residue stuff? Does it feel like it belongs to you? Yeah, it's when you internalize it, it's dangerous when you start internalizing it, right? I'll kick myself right out of my head if I think I'm going to put myself down in any way, or if I'm going to take, even if it's my fault, I won't internalize it either. Because what can you do? Once it happens, it's already happened, right? So the best thing you can do for yourself is to let it go, right? Yeah. Yeah, internalizing. Yeah, I can be very self-destructive, right? I can be, you know, I I would hurt myself before I would hurt other people. But hmm, yeah, I've been given that thought for the past couple of days too, right? And it just hit me in the head too. So I know I have to give it some thought. There's something there on the surface, that there's a lesson for me, or something that it's come up a couple of times in the past couple of days for me to think about, right? Oh, right, because your friend passing away. Yeah, it's a matter of finding another friend that could be just as close as he was, right? Once you get to that point where you're feeling good enough that you can actually start, meeting people and connecting with people like you did with him, right? It won't be the same, right? Because he held a special place in your heart, but you will find somebody else that will hold, a different place in your heart that will make it so that one won't hurt so much, right? Yeah. I had somebody very, very close to me pass away last Christmas, right? And yeah, it was very sad, but what can you do? You have all you could do is take care of yourself, and that's what life is, right? Life is coming and going, right? Coming and going, and I never gave it any thought before, right? But I think I'll come right back, do a different life, and then maybe at least get the opportunity to do a little bit better job than I did with the life before, right? But yeah, it's a matter of trying really hard not to beat yourself up, right? And just do little things, just inch, as long as you inch, even if you're just inching forward, right? Don't take big leaps. Sometimes for some of us, I know when I started online and on YouTube, remember when I first started doing my urban exploration? I think it was a year before anybody saw me, right? I never went in front of that camera in my urban exploration for over a year. It took a long while. It took some time to get used to it. But you just inch yourself a little bit every day, just a little bit closer, learn a little something more, right? you know every time you learn something, you change something, and people don't realize, because when you say change is really, really important, that doesn't mean just physically, right? You can change emotionally. That counts too, right? So, like even when you come here on the Sunday lives, right? And we're talking and you learn something, right? And you go, "Oh, I didn't know that." Well, thanks for that great information. You've changed something. You've changed the way you thought, and those changes are just as important as the physical changes. Now, you want to make those physical changes too. They're important, right? But yeah. 95. That's a good age. Good age to pass away. I was watching what was I watching? The average age. Oh, I was doing a little bit because of that virus that's out there. Now I don't have a TV and I haven't really been following, but because it is a, a virus that will affect the whole world, right? And I know that 100-year-old virus comes every 100 years to try to wipe out the world. I know the Spanish flu. When the Spanish flu came, it was what was it? 30% of the world contracted the Spanish flu. In the 1400s, when the Black Plague hit, it affected 60%. 60%, right? Now they say this flu affects 3% of the there's a 3% death rate in the population. So that's still quite high. Considering the SARS was 10%, which is really, really high, right? But yeah, we're just very lucky that we have such great scientists and great doctors that are so on top of these things yeah, to stop it from spreading across the world, that would be an absolute miracle. And China would definitely have to be credited with that, right? For locking down their country the way they did to make it so that yeah, they can quarantine and that disease can just stays contained. And it's sad, right? But if the world can get together and help them with doctors and supplies and whatever little bit of money and stuff that they need, to help them cope, Yeah, they would have to deserve great credit for keeping that away from the rest of the world, because they shut their country down fast. Didn't they shut their country down fast? I think they did. Yeah, and if they stopped it from spreading, because I know here in Canada we had 7 cases, right, of of that that what do you call it, coronavirus virus. Yeah, but they quarantined themselves. They all came from China, and when they came off the planes they went straight home and they quarantined themselves, so hopefully it didn't get spread too much, right? But it only takes one, right? It only takes one. Like I said, we're just very lucky we have great scientists and great doctors that are on top of these things, right? My dad passed away in 1984 also, Owen. Yeah, my dad had congenital heart disease. He had serious angina, like he was having like little heart attacks and strokes every single day, numerous times a day towards the end, right? And he went blind one night, and his doctor told him if he ever went blind he would have to go to the doctor right away, because that was a major sign that he was going to have a major stroke right away. Sure enough, he went to the doctor and they told him if he didn't have an operation to open up the arteries in his neck, that he would, within 24 hours, he was going to end up in diapers, or he was going to die. But we'd always expected this, right? So here it was on our step. I think I was 23 years old, and he was in the hospital, and he actually he had the operation went well and everything. And then, yeah, in those days my dad was went to the nurse's desk to let them know he was going outside to have a cigarette, and he just passed away right at the desk. So at least I'm glad that my dad's heart just stopped, right? It wasn't like a heart attack, like he wasn't in a lot of pain or anything. His heart just stopped in the spot, right? So, but it did take us by surprise, because the operation went well and everything. We were expecting to take him home, right? And he ended up passing away, and because he was my best friend, right? That was my first real taste at tragedy, right? Like somebody passing. When my nanny died, like, I was still very, very young, right? But I was so close to my dad when he passed away. I think I went and I sat in the bathtub for 2 days, and yeah, somebody had to break down my apartment door to come and yank me out of the bathtub. I was sitting in the bathtub for 2 days. I was just so spaced out. It was so sad. And then I ended up putting my dad's memory on a shelf just so I could forget about him, right? It was the only way I could move on, was just to put his memory away. And yeah, and until I started doing some of this work, when I awoke, and I had this awakening, and I started doing some spiritual work on myself, and I started taking a look, at the relationship with my dad, and how it affected me when he passed away and stuff, and I could clearly see, what happened to me, right? What happened. And that's when I really, really put on weight. When my dad passed away, I think within a year I had put on, I might have 75 pounds. I might have put on 75 pounds that year that my dad passed away. I know I hit 300 pounds pretty close after that, right? But yeah, and I never have given thought to death. Like, it never concerned me. Like, it concerned me when I heard about people taking their own lives. And it's not like my family has not been touched by suicide. Like my uncle killed himself, right? I never got to know. I've got a picture of him with me, right? So he killed himself when I was a baby, right? But I haven't gotten past that either. But it's such a shame, right? Like, I used to say, let women have abortions, right? Like, why are people stopping women from having abortions if they're not ready? Because, my childhood, like there are some women that I never really thought that should be able to have babies and stuff, right? So I was agreeable to people who didn't want to have their babies, and I was kind of saying, yeah, if they want to have abortions, that's their body, they should be able to do that. But now, with my understanding of the soul, right? Like my understanding of the soul, yeah. So my idea of abortion has completely changed on that idea now, right? Because, you don't think of a fetus as having a soul, but once you understand that fetuses do have souls, right? They do have souls. Then, like, how can you bring yourself to have an abortion? But this is also a new understanding to me too, because I've always been a great advocate for letting a woman decide for themselves what to do with their body. But now that I understand the idea of the soul, yeah, you can't be. Every soul deserves a chance, right? To make it through, right? I could have easily have been aborted just by stress, like the amount of stress that my parents were under when my mother got pregnant with me. Like, it would have been very easy for my mother to abort me. So for some reason or not, like, I clung on and I wanted to be here, right? So it, yeah, killing myself would never be an option. It would never even cross my mind, right? Because I know what you do if you do something like that, how it affects the people you leave behind, the people that love you, right? You might not think that you're loved, and you might not think that anybody cares, but you're never going to find out, because once you're gone, you're going to see all these hurt people, and you're not going to see these hurt people that you left behind, right? So yeah, suicide should never be an option, right? If you keep in mind that there's you and then there's your soul, right? So yeah, you don't get the right to decide, right? For both of you, you're a team. Yeah, and I can tell you, for one, your soul wants to stay. Your soul wants that experience, right? Yeah. Yeah, there shouldn't be any reason, if you're so desperate that you feel that there's no hope, that you have to do something like that. Then what you need to do is you need to go and help somebody. You need to go into service. You need to make yourself feel better by helping other people, and that would get you back on track to feeling like you belong, right? Yeah, because the only reason you would do something like that is if you felt like you didn't belong. Depression is not a good enough reason to be sad. Is not a good enough reason to give up. You hack through no matter what, because there is a lottery day, and there's going to be a few lottery days. If you're going to live a long life, you're going to have a few of them, and you're going to be happy that you're here to experience those days, right? Because yeah. Yeah, there was a gentleman that I really wanted to go out with at one time, and everybody thought we would go out and we would make a good couple and everything. And yeah, he ended up taking his own life, right? And you would never have guessed it. Like I said, like some people, you can't tell if they've got a problem, right? You can't tell if somebody's got issues and handicaps. Those emotional disabilities are just as scary as the and sad, right? As the physical disabilities. And lots of us, will hide it and not show it, right? So that's why it's important for me to talk about the problems that I have. And even though they don't seem like big problems, the solutions I had for those little problems were little tricks that I would trick my brain, so that I'd be able to cope, right? And coping mechanisms. Yeah. Hmm. They're another topic all in themselves. Everybody, we have gone over again tonight. See, we get all talking and everything. We got all deep into our conversation. And yeah, Nancy, thank you so much. I know you're there, and yeah, crappy in the hospital again, but we're gonna get through it, because we got some prayers here, right? We're gonna throw some prayers for Nancy today, and for William, for his speech, for his giving the word in church. And yeah. Yeah, let us know how that works out. Thank you, David. Oh, that's a nice way to end it. Ah, that William, he's getting more impressive all the time. Yeah, totally different person than last year. You should go look at some of our lives from last year and see William's conversations. Yeah. He's gonna have Andrew outbeat. Yeah, Andrew's our biggest chatter, but I don't know. William's coming into as a close second. Yeah. Mind you, Owen's a pretty good yapper too. Okay, everybody, let's get out of here. Have a great night, and we'll see you next Sunday. Take care.